In an interview about the Vietnam War that was recorded on Wednesday and aired last night on C-SPAN, Senator John McCain made this comment about Vietnam that many see as unmistakably a reference to President Trump's draft deferment.
One aspect of the conflict, by the way, that I will never, ever countenance is that we drafted the lowest income level of America, and the highest income level found a doctor that would say that they had a bone spur. That is wrong. That is wrong.
And as has been reported, Donald Trump received 5 deferments from the draft during the Vietnam War.
5.
Due to heel spurs, and of course,
What's a heel spur?
Still played football, golf, tennis.
I think my daughters had a few of those, but they still had to run in their track meets.
Life in the Ivy League while that was
Their
going on.
coach must have been wrong.
Now, earlier in the day, Donald Trump's former chief strategist took aim at many Republicans, attacking John McCain, a war hero who was in prison for 5-6 years and beaten up so badly that he can't even lift his arms over his head, while Donald Trump was going to college with his bone spurs, and also George W. Bush, and he did it in a keynote address to the California Republican Party's fall convention.
Within 24 hours of each other, there were 3 speeches. President Xi in China, our beloved President George Bush. That's a piece of work. And John McCain. President Bush, to me, embarrassed himself. Speechwriter wrote a highfalutin speech. It's clear he didn't understand anything he was talking about. He equates the Industrial Revolution, the Agricultural Revolution, globalization. He has no earthly idea whether he's coming or going. Just like it was when he was President of the United States. I want to apologize up front to any of the Bush folks outside in this audience, okay? Because there has not been a more destructive presidency than George Bush's. John McCain, his service in the United States Navy is a pride to every naval officer, how he handled himself, and how John McCain's handled himself with this horrible disease he has, and the class that his wife and his daughter have shown, the whole family, and his 2 sons who serve in the Marine Corps. John McCain deserves our respect. However, as a politician, John McCain's just another senator from Arizona. John McCain the other day, and they're all loud, the New York Times and Morning Joe is a great speech in human history, right? It was Pericles at Athens, right? The speech was nothing but happy talk. And we live in a dangerous world. It's time we started treating our fellow countrymen like adults and have an adult conversation with them.
So
the great irony of Steve Bannon
oh my God.
and Donald Trump lying through their teeth for 6, 7, 8, 9 months, talking in alternative realities, constantly saying things that just aren't true. That guy being a huckster, going on television, and then going in front of a crowd with his highfalutin, like I'm just a country lawyer sort of routine. He's a Goldman Sachs guy.
Acid bathtubs, too.
Yeah, he's got acid bathtubs. He's a Goldman Sachs guy. He was a Hollywood guy.
Rental units.
In one of the most powerful Hollywood firms going. As hooked into Hollywood, Wall Street, made millions and millions of dollars, and now the Mercers are loading him. Loading his wallets and his coats and the 5 shirts that he wears with millions and millions of dollars. This guy, it's a scam. And the great news is about America, and I love this about America, scammers always get caught. And this scam is going to blow up in the most spectacular fashion next midterm. Because he's lining up behind people that have been kicked off the bench several times, that have apparently stolen from charities, that have been sent to jail. It's all a scam job. But Mark Halperin, here you have George W. Bush booed, Republican president. Of course, it's fascinating. These same yokels, these same whatever you want to call them, jackals in the crowd that were booing George W. Bush were attacking people like me back when George Bush was president of the United States and had power for saying that he had a Wilsonian foreign policy, that he was spinning us into debt. They just worship power. They don't stand for anything. Those people don't believe in anything, because when George W. Bush was president, they attacked anybody who attacked George W. Bush. Now they're booing him, and John McCain. Well, I got to go a step further. Here's a disturbing detail from this Californian Republican Party convention. The LA Times reported, Seema Mehta reported that as the crowd booed Bush and John McCain during Bannon's speech, one man yelled about McCain, "Hang him."
Is this really where we want to be, America?
No, it's not. And you know what? This is the death cry of the Republican Party. A party that shouts, "Hang him," for John McCain, an American war hero, and boos past presidents that I didn't really care for their policies much. That is a sick party.
You saw over the weekend Mitch McConnell stand up aggressively to Steve Bannon. Karl Rove did it last week. The establishment of the Republican Party is not cowering in fear anymore. They're going hard after him at the same time that the president has this extraordinary on-again, off-again, but mostly on-again relationship with Steve Bannon.
Yeah.
And I think that the tale is going to be told to a large extent on whether Bannon's back candidates can win these primaries or not.
You mentioned Mitch McConnell. We actually have that soundbite. Let's take a listen.
They've been out there for a number of years. They cost us 5 Senate seats in 2010 and 2012. We would have gotten the majority sooner, but for the fact that they were able to nominate people who could not win in November. In 14, they were defeated everywhere. In 16, they were defeated everywhere. And the difference is we've been in the majority. Some of these folks that you've been quoting, as I said, are specialists in nominating people who lose. So that isn't going to help President Trump achieve his agenda.
And Julie Pace, it's still hard to figure out why Mitch McConnell is even playing games with Donald Trump, even going to the White House, sitting there talking to him when it's obvious that Donald Trump is talking on the phone almost every day to Steve Bannon about Steve Bannon destroying Mitch McConnell and the Republican majority.
I know that scene at the White House last week was so striking, given everything that we know is happening behind the scenes between Trump and McConnell and a lot of folks in the Republican Senate caucus. I think McConnell still feels like, and this is the way that a lot of Republicans talk about this, if they can get tax reform, they head into 2018 and the landscape looks pretty decent. The map is favorable for them. They look at the Democrats and don't see a lot of organization happening there. So he feels like he has to be on Trump's side. He has to be trying to push Trump in the right direction over these next couple of months on tax reform. I do think if you see that break apart, if you see no progress happen there, for Republicans, it could be pretty disastrous next year, and that's when you could see this real cleave happening publicly between McConnell and Trump.
Steve?
Well, they've got an immediate problem with this health care bill. McConnell said yesterday that he wasn't going to put it forward in the Senate until Trump says whether he's going to sign it or not, and Trump keeps going back and forth on that. Tax reform.
Isn't that amazing? A guy who claims to be a leader just can't make up his mind. He just waffles around. He goes back and forth. He defers everything over to the Senate and the House. He can't make up his mind on DACA, so he throws it there. He can't make up his mind on Iran, so he tosses it over there. He can't make up his mind on health care, so he tosses it over there, goes back and forth. This guy flip-flops every single day. He's the weakest leader I've ever seen in my life. He flip-flops. He has no courage. He doesn't know what he believes in.
But he doesn't know. That's, I think.
That's his problem. He doesn't know. He's flip-flopping every day.
And so he goes back and forth, and now we're seeing on tax reform a lot of problems coming out. The state and local tax deduction, there's a lot of pushback on that.
Thank God.
No, we're not talking personally, of course, here.
Thank God. Not that we're talking personally.
Not that we're talking personally.
But a guy that lives in New York and works in Connecticut. Thank God.
Well, thank God. But there are 30, 40 40 or more Republicans in high-tax states in the House that are not going to necessarily be for this. The deficit estimates are very, very high. It's not, you've got Corker, who's now a free agent. You've got Rand Paul, who's a free agent. It's not 100% clear they're going to get tax reform, as important as it is.
Well, the problem with this tax reform is that for all that it tries to do in lowering corporate tax rate, it does blow a hole in the deficit. We're sitting here, the deficit's gone up again this year. The national debt's over $20 trillion.
Even without tax reform, the baseline budget projections are another $10 trillion of debt over the next 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Even without this, you're right, we're up to $30 trillion. And it really starts to weigh on the economy in a negative way. Also, if you look where these tax breaks go, we've got a report last week that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer at an even faster clip than before. Income disparity and the national debt are two reasons why this is the wrong time for this tax break. I guess one other thing, too, we're at 4.2% unemployment. Wages are starting to creep up right now. The last thing we need to do right now is fuel the economy even more in a way that could possibly cause inflation to go up.
The game is not changing in the way the president had promised on the campaign trail. I think certainly people are going to start feeling it. Still ahead, new information on what may have happened in Niger that resulted in the deaths of 4 U.S. servicemen. We are looking into that. Plus, we bring in the Washington Post's Eugene Robinson, who writes about the president's, quote, mindless cruelty to the widow of Sergeant Johnson.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.